New day, oh, it's a new time, and there's a new way. Gonna live my life hard.
Good morning and welcome to Cover Your Assets. We've got resources for you in the new now. Let's say good morning to all of the hosts around the table this morning. We've got Jason and Derek Walgrave of the Minnesota Real Estate Team out of RE/MAX Advantage Plus. Todd Rooker is here, toddhelp.com, and Mr. Craig Nestor, the homerescueteam.org. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you all here. Now, brand new show, second week on the air here on The Patriot. Thrilled to be here. Guys, I'd like for you to explain a little bit about who we are and what it is that we do.
You know, we want to come here every week and offer our services to the listeners. We've got a wide array of specialty services that we can offer. Our website, Cover Your Assets 21, is kind of a good place to start for new listeners when the show has ended. And of course, we've got a call-in number that we can give out. If you've got questions during the show, you can give us a call at 855-835-8500. Again, the call-in number with your questions this morning is 855-835-8500. You can also keep that number when the show is over. You can get a hold of us anytime during the week. And of course, our website, Cover Your Assets 21. But I think we're going to start the show this morning. Craig, you brought in the 4 things you absolutely must do during a financial crisis.
Well, we have a lot of things going on in our economy right now. I'm not sure what's happening with the state of Minnesota. Is that on? Is that back off? Or Todd, have you heard anything with the state of Minnesota? Mike, do we have to hide the Miller beer? I mean, is that...
No, I think the beer. I think the beer is safe. I think the beer is safe. I think they're going to go back into session on Monday morning, and the governor took a trip around the state and said, "Yep, we better cut a deal." So I think they're going to get that put together and finalized this coming week.
Well, this is a financial crisis, and what we talk about is the new now, and the tactics that we take now are different than they were a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. So let's kind of open up today with the 4 things you absolutely must do in a financial crisis. And one of the things that we strongly believe in, number one, is to go on the offense. Do not wait and see how things are going to turn out. The people that are the most successful, regardless of where you're at, the people that are the most successful and growing financially are those that steer straight into the problem, and they don't wait for fate or chance or luck or a vote to determine the outcome for their family. Todd, you see this every day.
When a person comes in, one of the biggest things that I can tell them is that they've got to square their shoulders and be prepared to go to battle. If they don't have that mindset, they walk in with their head down, they let life essentially relegate the direction to them, and consequently they inevitably wind up in the rocks with no options left to them. Had they just reacted and had a different mindset previously, they could have made a lot of choices that would have changed everything, but they run out of time because they choose not to choose.
Well, and we've been doing this for a little bit of time now, and Jason, for me, attitude and determination is actually the most valuable difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing more and more families recognize the fact that they do need to act. They do need to make a choice on doing something. A couple years ago, it was, everyone was really afraid. They didn't think they had options. They didn't think that they had any control or power over their situation, and that's not the case. And so, we're seeing people sitting down with people, and they're acting much quicker. They see maybe a financial crisis coming. They're not even there yet, but they see that it's coming on the horizon, and they're doing something now about it.
Now, Jason, you specialize, obviously you and Derek are realtors, and you work on short sales on a regular basis, but you also come in with the investors and help them pick up those distressed properties and advance themselves. Craig, what's your angle for CoverYourAssets21.com? What do you do?
Well, really, we know now that there's a lot of people that are in financial crisis, and they have questions that they didn't have before, and they need a new understanding of words like loan modification and short sale or bankruptcy, and really having an all-encompassing plan, because the one thing you don't want to do is make a mistake in these unforgiving times. We're not in a position where we can make $5,000, $10,000, and $20,000 mistakes anymore like we could in 2005.
Because the value isn't going to absorb it for us, right?
Absolutely. We no longer can live into the fact that our home is going to appreciate and then refinance out our lifestyle or any mistakes that we would make.
And Todd, your angle here?
Well, I mean, one of the things I wanted to just elaborate on, that's not necessarily my angle per se, but The thing that I think is really crucial is to understand that no one is ever in a financial crisis until they are.
Yeah, it's true.
So everybody comes to me and they say, well, I'm not like your typical client. I haven't missed any payments yet. And I say, no, you're exactly like my typical client. And the thing that you've got to recognize is that what is a contingency plan should things go wrong? There's not enough time to change everything and shift assets 2 months before everything goes down in flames. You've got to prepare long in advance. And if there were ever a time to consider strong asset protection strategies, it's now, because no matter where you are in this economy, no matter how strong and confident you are about your position, your profession, your job, everything can change tomorrow. And now it's too late to make the changes that should have been made a year or two before. So if you feel confident about where you are, that's great. You need to position yourself to be in a protective mode should something go wrong.
Craig, you talk about the new now a lot, and we were kidding around about this a little bit before the show started. We were talking about the money fairy, and
I wonder.
And the money fairy is gone, and what that's talking about is 5-6 years ago you could literally sit down at a table, sign your name, and get a check. And
well, not only that, but everybody would do the
financing we're
paperwork for
talking
you.
about.
Financing.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
You could sit in a chair and someone else would do the paperwork for you, and then you'd go to a closing, and then one person would slide you a check and the other person would slide you the keys to your house. Truly, it's the money fairy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those days are gone, and we really need to look at a comprehensive plan based on fact and have some contingency plans to navigate us through. It doesn't matter if it's loan modification, sheriff's sale, deed in lieu, just buying time, refinancing, or as Todd said, preparing your assets differently for this new economic time that we live in.
Absolutely. So we're talking right now in this moment, the 4 things you absolutely must do during a financial crisis. Feel free to jump in at 855-835-8500. That's 855-835-8500. So you said, Craig, first off, go on the offense. What's next? Number 2.
Well, protect the dry powder. And what I mean by that is you have to reduce and eliminate debt any way possible. I've seen many families that exhaust all of their resources trying to do the right thing, and then when it's time to come up with a plan, not having enough dry powder to navigate.
Well, and beyond that, I would also say that you need to have a backup plan. I like to say that you want to have money that's between you and God, which means that it's not in a bank account. It doesn't have transparency attached. And you can say that to people, but for them to wrap their head around that is not easy because their entire lives, they've gone to the table saying, look, I have nothing to hide. Here it all is on the table. And in point of fact, when you go to battle, you have to be thinking just the opposite. So you always want to have contingency backup plans. And the one thing to know about being in a financial crisis is that if there's any consolation, a big fistful of cash that nobody knows about that enables you to put food on the table and gas in your car will give you a lot of confidence when things seemingly are spinning out of control elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think it's really critical what you said is earlier, you said go in when you don't think you're in trouble, because a lot of people really have a tough time admitting that they're having a tough time.
Mm-hmm. Well, you asked me a moment ago what I bring to this. My clients are people who've never missed a payment in their lives. They tell me as much. They say they've been referred to by multiple people, and that's great, but then they'll go on to say, I've not missed a payment. Like I told you, they believe they're different than my normal client. And then they'll say, well, look, but I'm using every resource I have trying to make my payments on time. I'm running out of juice. I've even liquidated my retirement account, borrowed money from family and friends. And now I need to know, do I just let my business or my real estate go into foreclosure? Do I consider short sale, deed in lieu, loan modification, even, my goodness, bankruptcy? And then how do I rebuild my life? That's my job, and that's what I do in an unbiased way. So when I help people with that, a lot of times they're not in a financial crisis yet, but they want to ensure that if they ever are, by goodness, they've got contingency plans to deal with it.
And it's interesting to talk to you too, Todd, because you literally get paid for your time. You don't have any attachment to getting paid for one particular recommendation.
Not at all. Not at all. And having said that, a lot of times I tell people a lot of things that they don't want to hear. I get paid regardless. I don't give a crap what people think. I'm going to tell them exactly what it is. And my business is to know what the attorney, the CPA, the financial advisor, mortgage broker, banker, and credit specialist all know rolled into one to have a cohesive strategy. Because otherwise you go to multiple disciplines and each one of these people have a different perspective and you wind up more confused than when you started.
Absolutely. This is Cover Your Assets, and you've got exclusive assets, not only to access to Todd Rooker, Jason and Derek Walgrave, and also Craig Nestor all hour long. 855-835-8500. Great topic coming up today. We're going to finish with the 4 things you absolutely must do during a financial crisis, but we also have a special guest coming up, Scott Letourneau, establishing, positioning, and protecting entrepreneurs. Cover Your Asset continues next.
when you're lost in the doubt and you can't see what's around the bend. Just hold on, don't turn around.
AM 1280, The Patriot.
This